What's up, blogosphere? It's Coffee back at it, man. And we got the update that the whole world has been tuned into in regards to the passing of Matthew Perry.
Sad breaking news. An autopsy report just in from the Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Office reveals that Friends star Matthew Perry died as a result of, quote, acute effects of ketamine and subsequent drowning. Perry was found dead in his swimming pool. In October, authorities say no foul play was involved. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister is following this for us in Los Angeles. Elizabeth, what more does the medical report have to say?
Hi, Jake. So the autopsy says that Matthew Perry did die from acute effects of ketamine and subsequent drowning. He was found face down in the pool at his own home, and authorities say that there was no foul play. Now, for the first time from this report, we are getting confirmation that the person who first found Matthew Perry was a live-in assistant who came home from running errands, saw him in the pool, propped up his body, and called 911. Now, this assistant did not report to 911 any illnesses, drug use, or drinking, but what the report does say is that there was ketamine found in Matthew Perry's system, and it was reported that he had been receiving ketamine infusion therapy to treat depression and anxiety.
Oh, interesting. Okay, Elizabeth, stand by. I want to bring in Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta. Sanjay, so that's interesting because I know ketamine is sometimes used to treat depression and anxiety. And Elizabeth says that he was getting ketamine infusions. So this doesn't necessarily mean a drug overdose. It might mean that just an unfortunate prescription.
Well, yeah, if you read the report, it's a pretty detailed report, about 30 pages. They do make the point that he was receiving infusion therapy of ketamine, which can be used to help treat depression and anxiety, but that the last infusion was probably about a week and a half earlier. And to give you some context, the half-life of ketamine is just a few hours.
Oh, okay.
So since Matthew Perry's passing, once again, if you've been following on the channel or just this news story, there's been so many different bits of information, theories and scenarios laid out regarding his history of drug addiction and the fact that he was clean and had been known to be clean by all those around him for a decent amount of time, and not just clean, but clean and thriving, in good spirits, being productive, being happy, quit smoking cigarettes. The list goes on and on. Everything seemed to be looking up for Matthew Perry. And then upon his passing, you know, it just was hard for everyone to accept. How did he drown in this jacuzzi? You know, how could that have happened? What made him lose consciousness? Did it have to be drugs because he had this history of substance abuse? How could it be drugs? As I stated, everyone was like, yo, he was clean, he was doing good. Was there some other kind of health issue? Had he stroked out or had a heart attack, etc.? You know, the Suboxone that he was on, and it went on. And the initial testing, you know, after his body was taken in and processed, and, you know, just the routine of what happens when someone dies in California went down. The original battery of tests didn't show any drugs, right? But they were like, we gotta have the more extensive tests that will take some time for the testing and for this to come out. And here we have it now. It wasn't cocaine, it wasn't opiates, it was ketamine, Special K, cat tranquilizer. Now, on this channel, make sure to subscribe if you're new, guys, and join the discussion. As always, that's what it's all about. Coffee, talking it up with you guys, the people. We talk about addiction and recovery, among many other topics on this channel, and I always urge everyone, you know, to put down the drugs and get clean, as it's so dangerous nowadays. Doing drugs, experimenting with drugs, being an addict, etc. You know, it's different where there is all these toxic synthetic man-made drugs and this dirty man-made fentanyl out killing everyone. And, you know, that was definitely a big theory in this, if there could have been some way with the Fenty Wap. But the original testing, you know, I believe that ruled out the fentanyl. And in this situation, you see someone who didn't die as a result of that kind of stuff that's out killing everyone in the streets on an epidemic-like level. He died using ketamine. And listen, I've never really seen Special K personally around. You know what I mean? I'm just curious for everyone out there. Have you seen Special K? Have you experimented with it? What is your thoughts about it? I mean, I've been around the block and seen some things, and I've heard of people speaking of K, but I just personally never have seen it myself. And whenever this comes up in discussions, a lot of times people are like befuddled by that. Like, I don't know, is this a very common drug in your experiences? And it seems that the K itself didn't kill him. It was like all these circumstances combined, if you will.
So both things likely to be true here, Jake, that he could be receiving this infusion therapy, but it's not likely to have anything to do with what we're talking about here. As Elizabeth was just saying, I just put this up for you. This is what the report showed. They have these causes, these lists of causes of death, things that contributed to his death. Ketamine, they say, is the acute thing, but drowning, remember he was in a pool, coronary artery disease, which he had underlying, and also buprenorphine, which is a type of opioid. But what it really sounds like here, putting it together, and again, reading this entire report, he took ketamine, again, separate, sounds like, from the infusion. He did have some evidence of ketamine, for example, in his stomach, so it sounds like he was taking that separate from that infusion therapy. And it's an anesthetic-like drug, Jake. In fact, if you look at the levels of ketamine that was found in his blood, I can show you the levels, and we can compare that to what general anesthesia typically uses. So he was around 3,200 or so nanograms. General anesthesia is, 1,000 to 6,000 nanograms. So he had a very high level of ketamine in his system. Having said that, still, ketamine can cause someone to become very dissociated. In and of itself, it's not likely, typically, to lead to someone to die, except for the fact that he was also in a swimming pool. So it's ketamine and the pool, all these things combined. We talked to a few toxic...
All right, so you guys heard that, the amount of ketamine that he had in his system, and, comparing it to anesthesiology and surgeries and stuff like that was a pretty substantial amount, but still, according to the specialist speaking there, wouldn't typically kill an individual, and he probably would have went on to live. But the fact that he was in that jacuzzi, it put him into that deep sleep, and like literally a sedative, something that is designed to put a living thing out unconscious, and that's what happened. And then the fact that the Suboxone, you see that listed in the causes as well. I'm sure there was some kind of interaction between those things and stuff like that. And something that I want to point out when it comes to individuals that are addicts, or just have that taste for drugs and stuff like that, when it comes to certain substances being used as a treatment, sometimes for some addicts, right, just use it as a replacement. We were speaking about that a little bit with Suboxone before, when all those theories were being laid out about Suboxone, how it can save an individual's life, when they're so deep in the depths of addiction, and, not trying to go through those withdrawals and be bedbound and not be able to handle business, and just the depression that comes with it and everything else like that. Like, Suboxone can get someone through and help them get their ish back together. But in many instances, a lot of people end up on the Suboxone for a very long time. I did a video on it. I'll try to link it below. Oftentimes when I say I want to link a previous video I did in reference to a current video, sometimes I forget. So if you don't see it below, just click on my channel, scroll back, or just search J Coffee Talk Suboxone, and I'm sure it'll come right up. The thumbnail has Matthew Perry's silhouette and Suboxone wrappers in the thumbnail. But the reason that I'm bringing this up is what you're hearing about the ketamine infusion therapy that he was going through, which I didn't even know that was a thing. And that kind of baffles and befuddles me a bit as well, right? Because there's all these different treatments out there nowadays that you hear of, and some of the stuff is like experimental level, and they're doing research, and is it official, or is it being regulated, or is it something you have to sign on for? Like it's not something that seems to be set in stone, in my opinion, right? Because you've heard of stuff with MDMA. Comment if you guys have ever heard about that, where they have this MDMA treatment, and it's supposed to help with depression or something like that, which I really don't understand that, because anyone who's ever flucked around with that stuff, you do that a little too much, and when you're done after a week or so, you feel like you can never be happy again, and your brain is made of vanilla, and you're just bland, and it's over. I don't even want to go on type stuff, very serious effects as far as emotionally and stuff like that. And I've also heard about shrooms being used more recently, like microdosing, and I think that's the MDMA stuff that I was just speaking of, was microdosing as well. But I don't know, it's just a wild time we live in, where society is changing. I mean, all the stuff with weed, obviously weed, not even really trying to compare to these other drugs on that level, but just the fact of it was something that in a sense was frowned on by society in a way, not like super frowned on, but kind of a lot of society looked down on it, reefer madness and all that. And then now it's legal a lot of places, and it's not totally federally legal, but it's just stuff's changing. And with the shrooms and shroom candy bars out there and just all this other stuff, a lot of times with addicts, right? Like I was saying with the Suboxone, in this situation, Matthew Perry's drug addiction, I don't know if ketamine was ever something that he was into, but the fact that now he's being treated for it, and you see what they were talking about with the half-life and timeline, there was no way that it was from that. The half-life is only a couple hours, which is rather shocking as well. Someone could do ketamine and go today and go piss clean at probation tomorrow. It's kind of wild. But, he's getting the treatments, and then, I kind of like this stuff. Let me do it in my free time, recreationally, or, let me do it now, and this is a good thing. I'm furthering my therapy, a bit of a justification type thing. It's just wild, and it just goes to show you that when it comes to this addiction-ish, the best thing to do is put the stuff down, get clean, get your health back, get active, exercise, and live and love life, man. Not just dying and losing your life, but long term, man, if you can't ever get off the ish, it affects your life tremendously, and you don't get the most out of life you can get. It can fuck up your mental space. That was one thing with me over the years, from life experiences and stuff like that. I guess the way I'll put it, you just get to a point where you're like, man, I wish I was just totally clean, totally normal in the brain, back like I used to be. Just say no. So just some food for thought out there, to anyone else who may be going through these kind of things, or if you have a loved one that is, and you want to help them out, or a friend or whatever, like long term, the D-rugs get you one way or another. If they don't kill you, they definitely change the course of your life, and just everything, but not everything at the same time. But it's just a better idea to put the ish down and get clean. But there y'all have it, man. Ketamine is what did Matthew Perry in the jacuzzi. The definitive answer is here, and I don't know, sad news. Dude still had a lot of life to live, and I don't know, let me know your guys' thoughts about it. The ketamine therapy, the Suboxone talk, all of that. Let's kick it in the comments. Subscribe and stay tuned for more coffee talk. I'm going, y'all. Peace. R.I.P. Matthew Perry.